Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com, and today we're standing in front of Maureen. This is a 1957 Buick Special that we just completed a total ground-up rotisserie restoration on. So we're quite proud of this car. If you come a little bit closer, you'll see there's lots of detail that was done. We started with a very nice car. This came out of the United States originally. In terms of metal or body work, it didn't require too much in terms of metal work. But there was several layers of paint, old lacquer paint, on top of other layers of lacquer paint, and the biggest concern with the car was the paint was shrinking and shriveling. So it had to be stripped off and completely brought down to bare metal and then start over. So basically what we did is it was a running and driving car. It was safetied here in Ontario, so it was roadworthy. And it came to our spa, and we basically completely disassembled the vehicle. We took all the trim off. We put the body on one rotisserie and the frame on another rotisserie. And then we did quite a bit of work in the engine and so on. So as we come down the side, you'll see the really nice chrome in terms of the presentation. A lot of things that we've done to this car is period correct. So you'll see the tangerine stripe down the side in the moldings. We also have the tangerine detail with the steel wheels. We have the period correct hubcaps with the correct Buick insignia inside the hubcap itself. These are very unique to Buick, these mirrors, and they're in really nice shape and really set the car off. So this paint, as we're coming down the side here, the paint on this is a single stage premium paint with a metallic in it, and then we've done the white down below. So this shade is a little bit different than the original green this car came with. This is a special color that our client picked, and it turned out quite nice. So as you come down this way, you can see all the chrome. We have new weather stripping. All the chrome has been polished. This windshield is new. The side vent window is new glass in the doors. Because the laminate was starting to show and separate. So that's all, in terms of detail, has all been done. And then as we open up the door here, a lot of minor little things. I think the camera will probably pick it up. You'll see the door handle here with the gaskets. Not many people put the correct gaskets in the correct locations, and I think the camera, if you zoom in on that, I think you can pick it up. Most of the cars in this era, especially in 57, it's hard to find these gaskets that go around the handle surrounds and around the locks and so on. So this is an important thing to do when you're restoring a car in terms of detail, because over time, if there's not a gasket between the paint and the chrome handle, wear over time will start to scrub into the paint, and it'll create some surface rust and some bubbling over time. So this is kind of a nice little detail. And then speaking of detail, when you come around with the door open, you'll notice the two-tone is done correctly. The car had been two-toned originally from the factory. This line was in a different location, so we made sure that it lined up with the body along the quarter panel. And if I get out of the way, you can see the post here where it comes across, where you have your VIN tag, the authentic VIN tag. So this line, it's kind of tricky because we had to do a lot of measuring and marking to make sure that the paint lines line up exact as they should. And then you'll see it's the original stainless step plate that's been polished. It has new carpet. The seats, I believe, have been done at one time. We did not do the seats, but we added the extra safety of the seat belts. So it has seat belts now for both front and rear. And then if you zoom in on the dash, the dash was completely disassembled. There's several components there that make up the dash, and then we painted all of the black and then the cream or the off-white separately. And there's several panels and trim pieces along the inside and the rubber pieces and so on. So there's quite a bit of detail work. The radio, our client sent the radio out and had it upgraded and rebuilt, which is a really nice touch. There's an upgraded speaker in the front, in the tray in the factory location, and then there's also a speaker in the rear, and you'll notice at the back tray by the back seat. So we've added a 6x9 there also, so has nice sound when they're going to cruise nights and that sort of thing. And then off to the immediate right of the stereo, you'll see the analog clock. Very rarely do these analog clocks work, and this one was sent out and it was rebuilt, and and it works correctly as it should. And so it's keeping perfect time. And then you'll see the door panels, we had these redone. So we used the original panels as a pattern, and then we had our upholstery fellow that we use redo, and he did quite a nice job with the stitching to make it all authentic and original. You'll notice little things here like the door latches, and there's no overspray anywhere on any of the screws, any of the hardware. You can see it's all as original. Same thing here on the striker plate. You have the correct factory shim. So in terms of detail, this rope design here, which is factory correct to seal the door, and then the proper rubberettes. So it's basically like a time warp. It's like you've gone back to 57. It's brand new from the showroom floor. As we come down here, something we're really proud of, and when you look at a lot of this era of car in the Buick and the Chev, whether it's the Special, the Roadmaster, what have you, I've always paid attention to the spear style of chrome, where it comes around the quarter panel, up into the door, and into the fender. Very rarely do these line up, and we spent numerous hours making sure that the gaps, not only of the quarter panel and the door and the fender, but also the gaps of the trim. So the video, I'm sure, is picking it up, the camera's picking it up, the line is nice and true and straight. When we masked it to do the teal, blue, green, and the white, we wanted to make certain that we had the tape line exactly in the middle where it has to go. That took quite a bit of time to get it lined up properly. And then with the chrome, we wanted to make sure the grommets and the clips were all in the correct spot. So when you look at this vehicle from any angle, the trim is accurate and perfect. This is a nice feature. 57, I believe, is the only year for this opera style window. So these are 3 individual windows. They're very tricky to remove, to reseal, and to reinstall. I'm pretty sure it's a 1 year only, and it has all of the trim has been sent out and polished. All new weather stripping and seals have been put in, and then we made, as I mentioned earlier, we made that new parcel shelf in the rear, and then we have the speaker there. So this is a really nice feature and a really nice style. And as we pull back a little bit from the car, you'll see once again the elegant chrome, the original tail lights and lenses. The paint finish you can see in the sun, I think it's probably picking it up. There's quite a bit of metallic. It's quite difficult to lay this much metallic in a single stage paint. It tends to be easier with base clear, but we wanted to keep it period correct. So this is a single stage paint and quite a nice shine. And then as we come to the back here, if I open up the trunk, you'll see the detail here, which is quite nice. So all of the components or all the panels on this car were removed from the body, and they were all dealt with individually. So for example, the trunk lid was taken off. All of the mechanical pieces you can see here, I'm sure the camera can pick it up. This had a bunch of the latch mechanism and all the hardware. It all had lots of overspray and different colors on it. So that's all period correct now, nice and clean, and it's the bare metal. You can see with all the hardware, the correct washers and bolts. So everything was labeled and put back on. With this car, our client helped with a lot of the hardware and a lot of setting things up for reassembly. And you can see the detail underneath the trunk lid where you've got the sound deadener, which is correct from the factory. We have a reproduction jack instruction. So once again, it looks exactly like it did in 57. The surround here is an additional detail. I believe it's an option, and it's a hard cardboard that's coated with black that comes all the way around and surrounds the inside. We've added this carpet. So it came with a mat, kind of like a picnic table type mat, where we made a pattern out of it, and we've got this nice carpet. This is a really nice touch too, in my opinion. We have a period correct spare tire. You've noticed that the rim matches the rim on the outside. We've painted it also the tangerine, which is factory correct, and then our client was able to find an exceptional condition hubcap, which was quite a find. These are quite a rare hubcap and very desirable. And you notice the Buick medallion is correct. And then if I get out of the way, you'll see the location here of the factory correct jack along with the note for the jack. So a lot of detail, a lot of nice touches. So a lot of it is subtle, but when you walk around, it's one of those cars where you just look at it and you go, wow, that's a nice clean car. We put all new weather stripping on. It's done correctly. Little details, because of the opera style window and the rain gutter style of this Buick in 57, the design, what they relied on was the rainwater coming off the ribs of the roof, coming down through between the windows and running down this sill, and then either out this way or run the rubber and come out. And you'll notice here, most people, it's a pet peeve of mine, a lot of people when they're restoring a vehicle, little things like this, where the rubber meets and joins, where the seam is, it should meet just offset of this, and this is the correct location for it. Some people would say this is anal, but as the condensation and water comes down and across, this is where it's going to drain. And having that line up here with the fuel filler door allows any rainwater, instead of pooling or going into the trunk, to drain off as it's supposed to. So a lot of little subtle things that you probably wouldn't really notice. You'll see there's a trophy there. I think it was the first show that Maureen went to, and our client got quite an attractive trophy. So that's something that's kind of nice. We don't encourage, I don't know if we say encourage, but having a trophy in terms of recognition is nice. I think it's better for our client because they go through a lot of work and invest a lot of time and money keeping these cars clean and enjoying them. So it's nice for recognition for the client. For us, our satisfaction is when it's done and you walk around this car and you go, wow, this is a really pretty car. And that's what our client's been hearing, is this is quite a pretty car. So it's nice to have the trophies, and getting first place in that division in 57 with some other really nice cars there is quite a nice touch, I think. So that as we come around this side, you'll see once again the beautiful detail in terms of the trim and the chrome and how everything nicely lines up. All of the weather stripping in here, the wind lace, all of the trim is all new. So these doors and quarter panels were completely disassembled, and all new panels were put in. So quite a bit of work and detail there. But now having everything sealed properly from the elements, this car should last a very, very long time without allowing moisture and condensation getting inside. Another thing I'd like to point out is this beautiful detail in the quarter panel. And you'll notice on our website, under completed projects, we have basically a large slideshow of the complete build of Maureen. And you'll notice in some of the earlier photos, this detail work here, because there is so many layers of paint and some use of body fillers to help align panels, this definition was lost over the years in terms of different layers of paint. So now it's quite dramatic. You can see just as the designers wanted it to appear, there's very, very little obstruction in the way, and you've got a really nice view of the style. And if we open the door here on this side, coming over to the passenger compartment, you'll see once again all new weather strip, all clean hardware. Everything is done as it should, factory correct. And then you'll see once again the seat belts that were added. So quite a nice in terms of detail and cleanliness. And then, you know, when you're looking at even the door openings, the subtle door openings, and you have the correct hardware and screws and the correct bolts and clips and so on. So it's quite nice. And we come around to the front. We'll just pop the hood. And this is quite a nice bit of detail also. So as I mentioned earlier, this car was completely disassembled. The engine was removed and the transmission was removed, and then the engine was freshened up. And there's just some detail points I'd like to point out. So first of all, if you start at the very back at the firewall, you'll notice it has what they call the cowl tag. So it's that big rectangular aluminum piece with a bunch of numbers on it with the two big rivets. That's the original cowl tag for the vehicle that explains all the options and details and color and trim of the vehicle. And then you'll see the detail of the wiper motor, and then you have your fan and your clamp and all of your correct wiring and resistor. So at first glance, when you lift this hood, this looks exactly, or very close to exactly like it looked like in 57 when it was brand new on the showroom floor. Now we did make a couple of enhancements. This particular Buick originally came with a 2-barrel, and it was a black painted air cleaner. And our client was able to find the upgraded period correct intake for a 4-barrel carburetor. So he was able to obtain not only the intake but also a period correct carburetor, a 4-barrel. So it was rebuilt and installed, which enhances the performance of this car, so it feels quite a bit nicer to drive. And then to further tie things in, he was able to locate a period correct air cleaner. Some people refer to it as the Batwing style. And rather than having just painted the black, the client decided it would be nicer to have it the same color as the body. So you'll notice in terms of contrast, we have the semi-gloss black trim, we have all the correct wiring, all the correct hardware. When you get closer, you'll see the radiator. This was a pleasant surprise. It was coated with several coats of black, like undercoating and flat black paint. When we removed all of that, we're able to see this nice brass bronze look. And if I think the camera can probably pick it up, it's the original. The core obviously has been changed, but it's the original cap. So you can see it's an R24 57B, which is the date code. I think the camera can probably pick that up on the front there. So this is the correct rad that came with this vehicle, and at some point someone's recorded it because it is just like new. It has the original part number on it and made by Harrison. So we clean and polish that, and then we applied about 5 coats of an automotive clear to protect it so it doesn't deteriorate over time. One other upgrade that we made, which isn't really noticeable until I point it out, is the master cylinder. Your brake master cylinder in 57, this Buick had one line that came out of the master cylinder and it split to the front and to the back. So if you had one bad wheel cylinder or a rusty brake line, if one of those burst or disconnected, this car would have no brakes whatsoever. So years ago, people would say, if you're going to go through this type of concours style restoration, you want to keep everything period correct. You don't want to be changing things because you may lose points. The car is going to be judged. In the last 7 to 10 years, the trend seems to be changing, at least here in Canada. What we're finding is, and we've talked to some independent appraisal companies, they're now suggesting when you go through doing the amount of work that you do on a car like this, and you want to be able to enjoy it and take it out for an ice cream cone or to a show, anything that makes the car more enjoyable or safer to drive is encouraged. So this particular car, we've upgraded the master cylinder to a dual master cylinder, which means we have one line that's supplying the front brakes, a separate line that's supplying the rear brakes in terms of fluid. So when you apply the brake, if something were to happen with the rear wheel cylinder, instead of having no brakes, you would still have front brakes. So this is kind of a nice little enhancement that we like to do here at Last Chance Auto Restore, but that's a choice up to the client, whatever they would like to have. So you'll notice underneath the hood, we have the correct Buick labeling on the front hood. You'll notice the latches have all been cleaned, the hardware is all perfect, and then we have the new correct quiet mat, I think is what they used to market it as, which is a fiberglass type material matting. And you'll notice that the hood once again was painted separate to all the panels and then reassembled. So we have the correct black supports, black hinges, and everything looks quite clean in terms of presentation. So basically that was just kind of an overview of the total restoration on this car. So it was a Rotisserie Restoration. This is Maureen. It's a 1957 Buick Special. I'm John Neisman, and I thank you for watching our video. I would encourage you to visit our website. It's www.lastchanceautorestore.com. Thanks for watching.